It's honored to have Sarah here. I mentioned this before her pitch the other day, but just wanted to reinforce for those who missed. I had the opportunity to be at an event with Sarah. Caitlin and I were in Lisbon, Portugal with the International Virtual Reality and Healthcare Association and got to hear Sarah and then all but tackled her after her talk because it was largely centered around veteran experience and developing with the veteran in mind. And so, Sarah, really appreciate your work. Thank you for showing up, and we look forward to hearing more about it.
Thank you. Awesome to be in a room with, I call it a nerdy play date, right? The ultimate nerdy play date with things that I love. Not only people who served our country, but immersive media, which is really pretty great. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about an Honor Everywhere program, a little bit about Helium, and a little bit about some new opportunities that we all have in order to get more heads and headsets. So this is my team. We're from Columbia, Missouri, in the heart of the Silicon Prairie, right? Since 2009, we've been working with veterans, live streaming tours of their memorials to Washington, D.C. In fact, Michelle, some of you guys saw her on Tuesday. On Monday night, she was in D.C. on her 42nd consecutive honor flight, escorting veterans to Washington, D.C. to see their memorials. And then on Tuesday morning, she was here giving demos. So, definitely talk with them. They have some fascinating stories over their years of, working with veterans. My background is as a television journalist, and I spent decades covering trauma. And 15 years ago, that stress made me sick, right? And developed Helium for me, as well as the millions of people who struggle with anxiety. We went in with the aftermath of the tsunami in Sri Lanka and Indonesia. And my beat was with veterans. And we spent many years covering stories about honor flights, right? In 1 year, we went on 12 different honor flights and did documentaries about these veterans. It was in 2009. At the time, there wasn't a hub in our community. So we formed an honor flight hub that allowed them to see their memorials in person. So they fly veterans on free flights to see their memorials, a World War II, Korea, Vietnam Women's Memorial. And it's an incredible experience for them. People like Paul Jungerman, who otherwise wouldn't be able to physically travel, he had the opportunity to see his memorial in Washington, D.C. But right now, sadly, specifically in the wake of COVID, these are 80 and 90-year-old veterans, right? And we're losing them at a rate of hundreds a day nationwide. 180 World War II veterans pass away each day nationwide. And right now, there are 44,000 veterans on a waiting list to see their memorials. This is Staff Sergeant Russell Helwig. He never had the opportunity to see his memorial, and sadly, these men and women will pass away before they have the opportunity to see it. So back in 2013, we started live streaming tours because we would get some heartfelt phone calls from these veterans saying that they were on too much oxygen, their wife has Alzheimer's, and they weren't able to leave her. And sadly, they had to forego this trip to see their memorial. And so through Google Hangouts, we would essentially live stream the tours from our face. So you all might remember Google Glass, any glass holes that we have in the room, right, with augmented reality. We would go through the memorial tours and be the arms and the legs of the veteran who were talking to us in our ear. And we would go around to the memorials and point out different things that they wanted to see. Obviously, we needed a better way to do that, right? Because it required people in VA homes around the nation and also people live on the ground in the memorials doing these live broadcasts for these veterans. And so we were very fortunate that Google Cardboard came out. Remember the days when we were, showing virtual reality via Google Cardboard, but it allowed a portable way that we could create these experiences once and then share it with a veteran over and over and over again. Then came Gear VR, then came Oculus Go, which was a great standalone headset and didn't require Wi-Fi because a lot of these veterans were in rural communities. We got cameras, right? The big old bulky cameras, 24 cameras set up in an array in front of the Vietnam Wall that could capture them in a way that you would hide behind a tree or a memorial so that they wouldn't see you. And it afforded the opportunity to see their memorial. And here's one story about what some of these experiences mean to these veterans of being able to visit a place that they would normally be able to visit in person. Franklin Taylor was lucky. He got the chance to go on an honor flight to see his memorial. During the Korean War, Mr. Taylor extended his hand for service, and on this day, the public reached back. Who are not able to fly can still experience the sights and sounds of an honor flight in virtual reality.
With this new technology, everyone can experience it like this in their lifetime. It's unbelievable.
Through the magic of virtual reality, the veterans are able to feel like they're inside the video, like they can still reach out and touch the stars on the Freedom Wall, still experience the sounds of the fountains all around them.
Daddy was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 6 years ago. He was wonderful. I had the best.
Franklin Taylor passed away just weeks after his honor flight. We are losing our World War II veterans at a rate of 500 a day. Mr. Taylor got the chance to see his memorial just in time. And now even more could get to experience them in virtual reality.
They can travel anywhere. I think that anything that can be done to give every veteran this opportunity should be done. I think this is a way to show our kids.
And so obviously that film was shot many years ago, right? Back when we were using Google Cardboard, and there were 500 a day that were dying a day, and now there's only 180 a day that are left. So time is quickly passing away. June Radcliffe, all of these experiences are narrated by literally living pieces of history. They're no longer with us anymore. June Radcliffe passed away shortly after. We filmed her narrating the tours at the Korean Memorial. Bob Wieland, you might be familiar with his story. When they were building the wall, he actually lost his legs in a mortar attack in Vietnam, and he crawled on his hands to raise money for the Vietnam Wall. He is the one narrating the tours for those veterans when they come to the wall, right? Living pieces of history. If you don't have headsets, that's okay. There's a free app on iOS or Android called Honor Everywhere. Search it in your app stores. You can open up a magic portal in your living room, in your VA home, in the VA hospital. You can walk through that portal, or you can have someone push you through that portal in a wheelchair. And then you're inside the Women's and Military Service Memorial, right? And you have the ability to turn your phone side to side, and it's all the way around. If you don't have mobility, there's a teleport button that can instantly put you in there. But again, if you don't have a headset, great news today about the thousands of individuals who will get the opportunity to see their memorials as well virtually. Again, Korea, World War II, Vietnam, and Women's Memorial. Rural veterans need also virtual reality goggles as well. This is Mr. J.D. Sinclair. he also got the opportunity to see his memorial. And here's a little bit about his story. He's 92 years old.
On this day, we want you to experience the memorial built in your home. Even if you can't travel to see it in person, through the magic of virtual reality, we're going to take you. Thank you for your service. Welcome to your home.
So when I say living pieces of history, they are living pieces of history. Mr. Sinclair passed away a couple months after he had an opportunity to see his memorial, but we get amazing letters. When we send out these kits to these veterans, it has a journal. And the family members write about what it means to them. And reading those stories is like, wind in our sails of, what this technology has the potential to do and transformative, not just in healthcare, but in the ability to see things that have historically been unseen inside our body. And so after, that's how we got started as far as the virtual tours. This is Mr. Clark, and he was one of the first veterans that we had given a virtual tour. And we noticed something very interesting with individuals, and I'm sure all of you in the room have noticed this. It has a tendency to give them superpowers, right? To do things that normally they wouldn't be able to do. And Mr. Clark, his caretaker told us he wasn't able to lift his arms above his head, so we would need to assist him with the headset. And halfway through the experience, his arms were above his head, reaching out for the people that he saw inside that video. Journalist, naturally curious person, what's going on with their physiology? And what's happening to them. So we spent many years doing brain maps. This is my co-founder, Dr. Tarrant. He's a psychologist, neurofeedback specialist, to see how are these experiences impacting brain patterns and heart rate, and can we create them in a way that actually has a greater impact on that? And the answer to that, as we all know in this room, virtual reality shifts brain patterns. It shifts heart rate. It interrupts the stress response. That's a firefighter's brain immediately before virtual reality, and then just 4 minutes after. You can see the stress activity in their brain significantly reduced. And it led us to create a digiceutical, a drugless drug for areas of acute situational confined stress that's powered by biometric data. Along comes CleanBox, right? That solved a lot of our hygiene issues, no longer using cardboard boxes. And you can see what we're doing in the bottom of the screen. We're live streaming their bioinformatics, their own brain patterns and heart rate, so that they can actually see their feelings to know how they can learn to self-regulate them. And either just on a mobile device or inside goggles, You're able to plug in an Apple Watch or any kind of a smartwatch, and if you lower your heart rate, you're visually rewarded with butterflies in augmented reality flying around the room. Or inside of virtual reality experiences, those bubbles or that aura around you are your brain patterns. And if you quiet your mind, you're visually rewarded with your aura turning green. Again, giving the user a visual to learn how to self-regulate. This is the Stress Olympics, and there are opportunities inside virtual reality to visualize your stress. This is a stress animal. You can change the colors on the jaguar's fur. You can change its movement. If you calm your mind, it will sit down right next to you, soften, and start to lick its paw. Again, giving the user a visual to learn to self-regulate their brain patterns and their heart rate. So you can plug in a smartwatch, you can grow flowers, you can see what has historically been unseen inside the body, and you can actually illuminate a solar system. No longer is the data a flat number sequestered on your wrist, it's spatial. It's set out into the world. You have the ability to lighten and darken it, much like you would a solar system or something like that. So virtual reality is used in areas of acute situational confined stress. This is us out on the USS Nimitz in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, sharing Honor Everywhere and helium with some of those veterans. They don't see nature for months, right? This is virtual nature that has the ability to quickly interrupt that stress response. And it looks like my battery might have died. Can you advance the next slide? Sounds good. These in the U.S. Army out in the middle of Baghdad, they also don't have the ability to see nature. This is virtual nature. And there are new inputs. You all might have heard of OVR technology. It is a little cartridge that fits on the bottom of the headset, and you can actually smell the media. Not just in augmented reality on your phone. There's an experience where you're in a cave, a dark cave, and it smells dark and damp. And as you come out into a beautiful clearing, you're able to smell the fresh air. So again, great opportunities with not only watching the media, but actually smelling it as well. This is Bethany from our team. She's taking a mushroom up, and she's able to smell the mushroom. And not only do we know that virtual reality impacts brain patterns and heart rate, but because we like to do brain maps to see how it impacts physiology, we know that aroma does too, in significant ways. These were subjects scored in the moderate range for generalized anxiety disorder. Significant impacts both in the VR and the VR and scent had significant decreases in negative mood and boosts in positive mood states. That's on the Brunel Mood Score survey, in addition to full 19-channel EEG caps with sensors. The alpha activity in the brain was stronger in the scent group populations in the occipital regions in the back of the head, and also the gamma activity was stronger in the scent groups in the frontal regions. All of these studies are on our website, on our science section, so you can check those out at tryhelium.com. Also significant reductions in blood pressure as well when you introduced scent into that virtual reality experience. So all of this matters because not only are there thousands of veterans waiting to see their memorials, but this is the Stress Olympics right now, right? It's a mental health emergency, and it costs $1.5 million to replace one burned out physician and a burned out nurse together collectively, right? And they are, going into battle every day, healing some of these healers. So these are just mental fitness tools for that. In a recent study at Boone Hospital Center, VR, when combined with biofeedback, was shown to significantly reduce anxiety and improve mood in as little as 4 minutes. And here's how these experiences with helium and others are being used inside healthcare institutions for employee burnout.
And cool to think that you could escape just for that moment, just to go somewhere really neat and not think, not
So in this room is a group of pioneers, right, who are bringing these experiences to healthcare workers, not just to the veterans, but to the employees as well. And, you know, I'm looking at you, Megan Rumsey, Brian Peterson, Matt McDonald, Robin Anglin from Dayton, VA. Like, that's hard to do. If you've ever done a VR rollout, right, to people who've never experienced it, to be able to train them, that's hard to do. And you all in this room are pioneering that, so that's, you know, fantastic. Inside these experiences, you can float through a beautiful crystal forest, and then at the end, you get a triple-double rainbow, right? Don't we all need a triple-double rainbow every single day of the week? Specifically what's going on now in the mental health emergency. So just to wrap up here, virtual reality provides unique opportunities to spread honor everywhere, to spread healing media, and to provide some drugless, non-harmful coping mechanisms for the Stress Olympics. And it's a free app, right? These are free experiences that you can get on iOS, Android, Quest, or Pico. We recognize that not everyone has a headset, and so there's been some donations to, and I know that this group in this room can also share, you know, their headsets with individuals. But these are the states that have Honor Flight hubs that have headsets. So if you know of a veteran who isn't able to get to see their memorial, Honor Flight is obviously the best way to see it in person. If that's not an option, second best is virtual reality, and those hubs have those kits. We put them all through what's called VR kindergarten, right, where they learned how to train and how to use the remote controls. So that is an option if you do not have a headset yourself. For people like Paul Jungerman, he had the opportunity to see his memorial, and his family now, even though he's passed away, also has the opportunity to see him anytime they want, right? They can put on the goggles, and he's just, you know, a few feet away from him once again, which is pretty neat. So to close here, 44,000 veterans are currently on a waiting list to see their memorials. Let's get some more heads and headsets. And happy to answer any questions that you have.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey.
I just wanted to say I think this program we talked about a little bit the other day is amazing. For those who are not very familiar with Honor Flight, it is nationwide. It did start in Springfield, Ohio, so being from Dayton, I've had the honor and privilege as serving as a guardian on 4 Honor Flights. So this is my first time in DC, not on an Honor Flight. So I have had veterans that have not been able to make it out to the memorials because they are one of the statistics that don't make it out. So it's nice to hear that this is an opportunity for people. And for those that don't know about Honor Flight, get connected with your local hub, even if you don't go as a guardian. You saw some of the videos that Sarah had reported on. You can be part of the welcome if you're local in the DC. It's extremely moving to greet the veterans as they're coming off the flights or your local airports back home, doing the welcome home. So this is really great, and I encourage you, if you've not heard of Honor Flight, if you have veterans at your facility or, you know, inpatient or outpatient that might not be able to get on the list, try to get connected with local and get this technology. This is amazing. So thank you for all the work that you put into making this happen.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing it with your veteran. Yeah, that's great.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity for the virtual reality piece for the Honor Flight. I'm from representing the Vet Center, the Readjustment Counseling Service, which is kind of a small part of the VA that a lot of people don't know about. We were originally started by Vietnam veterans, so they're still our predominant population, and they have a lot of that experience with moral injury and not being recognized in institutional betrayal. And part of the opportunity for them to be able to experience this and have access, and people creating this opportunity, is also healing for them. but also with this aging population, they can't travel, or they just don't have the ability to leave their family behind or any of that. So I just wanted to thank you. And then I had one question, which is there any opportunity for this to become maybe a group VR activity?
Yeah, excellent. And first want to address your first one. Billy Rutherford as well. I don't know if Billy is in the room or not. Okay, so these experiences also have the opportunity to be therapeutic for the veteran. And what we've been able to do just as storytellers is provide stories, right? But in working with individuals like Billy and other psychologists, there really needs to be a narrative after the experience to unpack all of that. And while we can create them, and they're provided with support individuals from Honor Flight who are there with them, really standardizing what is that protocol after the experience to be able to unpack that. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. And as to your other question, repeat it for me one more time because I completely forgot it. Oh, group opportunities, yes. So, I look at some of the companies here in this room, Interworld, right? They offer group opportunities to see it. Before AltSpace was pulled, that was a group opportunity. Engage, there are a lot of, group platforms that would have the ability to see it inside. In a metaverse experience, So if you have connections to that, or I'm looking at the other creators in the room, these are not just, singular companies. It's been a lot of different companies that have banded together to create this content. And if you have the ability to create virtual reality content or augmented reality content, there's a huge need. We're working on right now importing the Vietnam Wall into VR that you can actually have the ability to search for some of the names and do etchings, much like they do on the Honor Flights as well. And I know that there are some individuals in this room who are going to help us with that, right? So collectively, we need help. We're a small company. These nonprofits are small companies. And what VA Immersive has been able to do in a matter of a few years to get more heads and headsets has been phenomenal, right? They basically, press the fast forward button on ensuring that these therapeutic experiences, these virtual tour experiences have the opportunity to happen. So, the timing is great. Certainly, if you want to help creators, psychologists, need all the help we can get.
So I just wanted to clarify, the content is able to be used on other platforms if they have the group programming or
yeah,
software?
It's a free app. So any virtual reality headset, if you're working with an MDM or a mobile device management system like a ManageXR or an Arbor XR, we can also share that with you and you can put it into your Arbor XR, your MDM program. Yeah, it is brand agnostic and free. Yes, Jessica.
Thank you so much for what you do. Little story, back in 2016, I saw Sarah present at one of the HIMSS conferences, and this is what she talked about this as well, and I was so drawn to your work, but today I am blown away by how deep it goes, because all I did was download the Honor Everywhere. I didn't know the history. So thank you for doing what you do. It means the world. I know you just talked about doing that Vietnam Wall. It seems like there's a lot of us that think that, and I think that we should collaborate and do it together and do it in a really big, big way. Mm-hmm. So let's all collaborate. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, let's have a nerdy play date outside the door after the session and figure out, definitely how we get that to happen. Thank you for what you all do, it's our pleasure to do that with them, and let's get more heads and headsets.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.